Jumake, are you really tired? You're busy doing your job. Jumake, I disagree with that. There's no way you can be tired of doing your job. As a matter of this is the time you have to do more. Yeah. So it's a lot more work for us, journalists, for media people. So I am not tired. And I believe you are not tired too. Jumake, the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19, Federal Government Presidential Task Force, actually came to Lagos yesterday. And for Governor Sanwo-Olu and the media men, it was a lot of praises. The PTF chairman, SG, that's Secretary to the Federal Government, that's Boss Mustafa, actually commended Lagos State Government, particularly Governor Sanwo-Olu, for being very, very proactive and actually being a good example to other governors in terms of fighting COVID-19. And then for journalists, the SGF said the media people, the fourth estate of the rep, were actually up to their task responsibility, and it was a lot of commendations. And I believe I'm one of them. So I'm happy that somebody somewhere actually is watching and actually recognized us.
Yes, that's a very good one. And but we still have so many complaints, people complaining about the government's palliative measures not being commensurate, you know, with the amount of money that's been earmarked for this exercise all over the country. So many people are complaining. Some people have even been trying to locate or get people to respond that I got this or I got that, and then we really are not having responses of people coming out to actually say this is what I got, or people who even got it saying that I'm happy with what I got. You know, there's still so much complaints flying around the country, and it's a very sad situation. It's a very sad case.
Because,
very sad.
Even the APC administration, that's APC-led government, has done a kind of self-indictment. I mean, coming from the leadership of the National Assembly, yesterday actually indicting the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Social Development, that's Sadia Farouk. That the palliative measures were not actually reaching the grassroots, that's those
who actually need it.
Yeah. So that's more or less like a self-indictment. The party, the leadership and all that have seen that they are not actually delivering on their promises. That's what actually played out yesterday with the summoning of the minister, I mean, to the National Assembly to explain the modalities for sharing the money, for giving out the food and order. And that's something we really need to look into. Yeah.
All right, so that's our focus on the program today, and we're going to be looking at these palliative measures. And we'd like you to be a part of the program by sending us an SMS to the number we'll be displaying on the screen. Just share your thoughts with us. Please, we prefer that you send an SMS instead of making a call. Just send an SMS with your name and your location, sharing your thoughts with us. Joining us for this discussion today, we have someone who is a home man. You know, we're so used to having him on the program, and it's always a delight listening to him. We have joining us this morning, Mr. Jide Ologun. He's an attorney at law and a public affairs analyst. Mr. Jide Ologun, you're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
You could be at home doing some other things, but because of your love for Nigeria, here you are. You're welcome.
It's a pleasure. Thank you very much.
All right, so all these palliative measures, let's just share, you share your own thoughts with us on how you feel about how the government is actually handling these issues, both at the federal and the state levels.
I actually like you to go a little bit backward, because we've been hearing about social intervention schemes as far back as 2015. And about 2 trillion is said to have actually been spent till date. That's even before COVID-19. And now there's another round of maybe palliative measures to Nigerians. Altogether, what's your view about all this?
I think for a regime that is out to fight corruption, there will be a lot of explanations for this regime shortly. You know, you just mentioned now, I recall at a time when this social investment project was queried by the First Lady of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the wife of the president himself. That was when there was a claim that we spent $16 million on mosquito nets. And she said that money should be enough to fumigate the whole of Nigeria, and that she could not feel the impact amongst her people. And the most recent one now is that about 12 billion naira is spent monthly on school feeding projects. It's worrisome. You see, and many Nigerians have been asking, can we see these projects? And reportedly across the country. And that about 100 million naira is also paid to a consultant who is driving that process. And when you look at the debt burden of Nigeria, the fact that on the wider spectrum, the care for the people is hardly delivered, you must be worried. But I'm so particularly joyous that the National Assembly, by virtue of COVID-19 holiday, is beginning to say some things that were hidden from them, and they are asking questions, because eventually this thing will all eventually explode on all of us, because we need to begin to redress our governance steps and put the proper things in place. The resources of the country is meant for providing for the people. And then when we talk about palliative is like when a man has headache and he keeps on taking analgesic to send the headache away. But this is a man who does not sleep in the night. This is a man who drinks anyhow. You are not dealing with the foundational cause of what you are applying palliative upon. What is the governance structure of this country? Let's look at care. Care talks about welfare. And the Constitution says the security and the welfare of the people shall be the primary purpose of government. And care is made of 4 letters. The C stands for concern. Have we seen enough concern for the people of the country in the allocation of resources, implementation of policies? I will not answer that question. The next letter is A, that stands for apathy. Is there an emotional connection between the government and the governed, that when citizens begin to ask for electricity, ask for potable water, ask for a vibrant health sector, and ask for things that will make life meaningful, do they get the response? And the A is apathy, all right?
Yeah,
the R is responsibility. Now, obviously, we have a vulnerable economy that can hardly withstand this extra shock of COVID-19. Why is that so? Because the responsibility of the government in the Constitution has not been implemented. If you look at Section 16, and I like reiterating it and asking Nigerians to Google it, it states it clearly that the resources of the country should be harnessed in a way that will deliver maximum happiness and welfare to the people, and underscore happiness. It's written there. Provide affordable housing, good food, care for the old, care for the disabled, reasonable minimum living wage, and that the economy should be operated in a way that we have a sustainable development, and should be operated in a way that wealth is not concentrated in the hands of few. So if we have been doing this over the years, pumping the resources of the country to develop the country, we won't have this expose that is quite embarrassing, not just to the people of Nigeria, but to the government also. And if you permit me, I'll make some comparisons. The UAE is also within the global concept of COVID-19. But this region came out and said, we are ready for COVID-19 to care for our people. We've been seeing reports from other countries where goods are delivered to the people, where economic stimulus is introduced to help businesses, because they have developed the culture of caring for all. No nation of the world can care for everybody 100%. Challenges will come, but at least set that tradition in motion. And that is why we are where we are now. And again, the concept of greed has also not left us. I commend Lagos State, best of intentions. I've been part of the consultations on how to reach out to the people.
But at the implementation level, you see some greedy elements that will come in because they are privileged to occupy a particular position, and they divert what should get to the people. Yeah. But then we have structures on ground that can get to the people. I can tell you that in my CDA, we have benefited from Lagos State. We know their grant plans.
What's the size of your CDA? How many houses?
It's a big one, but don't let us touch that.
When you talk about your own CDA,
yes.
I'm curious because it's supposed to be the vulnerable. You live here among the vulnerable.
I'm coming to the vulnerable. Let me tell you, sir.
When you say your CDA,
let me crack this joke. When a prominent Nigerian died, I was in a bank, and somebody asked, was he sick? And a teller asked, who knows sick for Nigeria? Who is not vulnerable in Nigeria? Let's ask that question. A country where kidnappers, the brother of a governor was just released now. Somebody, where there's kidnapping, headers killing, intimidation, different forms of evil. Right now, COVID-19 has not even killed.
Of vulnerability.
Exactly. And now if we are defining those that we should care for now, according to what the federal government is doing, the indigent, those who don't have access to the basic facilities of life. And that is why the president of the House of Senate and the speaker of the House of Reps, they are saying, these indigent, these vulnerable within your context, they don't even have access to the facilities that will enable them to link up with you, internet, electricity, and everything. The poor of the poor. And that means these funds we claim to be passing to them may end up in the accounts of some well-to-do Nigerians in quotes. But I have said it. It is not he who has little that is poor, but he who is never satisfied. And that is the case of our nation. You see, some have not been able to differentiate between their need and their greed. They are driven by their greed. So right now, those who need help are at the mercy of God.
Okay. The social intervention scheme, particularly for COVID-19, we actually saw it, and 20,000 naira said we shared cash. We saw money stacked somewhere, and indigent Nigerians were being given this 20,000 cash. Now, the administration that has actually prided itself on the maybe cashless policy. Don't you see a contradiction there? One. And then the National Assembly puts the question to the minister. Now, what's the criteria? What indices? How widespread? And so many questions. None of these questions were actually adequately answered. Now, what's your reaction to all of this?
It's part of what we are saying. In fact, sometimes we pick this report, we don't dig into them. I dug into that report. It's not 20,000 naira that is given out. The 20,000 naira is to cover 4 months.
4 months.
5,000 naira per month. And in an economy, while appreciating that, because they say, let's appreciate that, the inflation rate as at the commencement of COVID-19 was about 12.2%. All right, which jumped up even as COVID-19 set in. So what can that handle? That is the point we are making. You just spoke about cashless policy. We've always had policy implementation contradictions. I will bring one to the table now. I'm so impressed and happy that the president looked at the hunger that is in the land, which has been denied, because the Minister of Agriculture said there's no hunger in Nigeria, that we are producing enough food, and gave a directive that about 150 or 170 trucks of rice that the customs seized should be distributed to Nigerians. But reportedly, the Controller General of Customs himself could have said that imported rice is poisonous. In fact, we shut our land borders to imported rice because we needed to grow more rice. Some Nigerians would have expected that at a time like this, the homegrown rice should be circulating. We monitor these things. You look at the case of Cross River State, where Professor Benedict Ayade, the governor, is also reaching out to the vulnerable in terms of food. Some of the food, they are grown within the community because there's an agro project going on to empower the economy of that state. the face mask and the nose mask that the people wear now are given freely to them. They are not imported from China or from Australia, but produced in Calabar there. You see, so when Nigerians are asking for development, it's for the benefit of everyone. Right now, it's even a dangerous thing for anyone to say, I want to go for treatment abroad. When even these foreigners are moving their citizens back home, you see, so these are issues. So now, poisonous rice is now being shared, and if you have hindsight, then you need to ask yourself, what is the rationale behind closing our land borders? Because it's like hardship has come to embrace hardship now. And that is why, even within 7 days of a 14-day intended lockdown, Nigerians are saying no, we can no longer comply with this directive. And many people are stepping out. Because again, one of the realities is that about 100 million of the 200 million population of Nigeria, admittedly, are within the poverty bracket. Even though there are several grades of poverty, there are many who earn their wages on a daily basis. You see, industries are shutting down, several issues. Okay. Several issues. So, for me, the COVID-19 experience is a brilliant opportunity to embark on a new curve, because the resources of this country have not been withdrawn by God. In fact, there are some we have not discovered. And that is why I'm glad, perhaps prompted by COVID-19, that the GMD of NNPC is telling us now that subsidy is gone forever and we never come back. But then, sir, we spent 11 trillion naira in 6 years on subsidy. A country that has 4 refineries that are not functioning maximally. So when you look at all these economic leakages, I think we should begin to focus more on the substantive while we are jumping around with the palliative. Palliative takes no man nowhere.
We have a leadership in place now that is able to harness these glaring, let me call it opportunities, I don't want to call it challenges, these glaring opportunities that are staring us in the face, that there are things to do, there are situations to handle, there are so many things to correct. Because I'm surprised, even at the face of this all, we are still talking about bringing in Chinese doctors to come and assist technically and all that. We think that at this point our government will say, okay, let us improve on our own manpower, that is on our medical personnel. But we are still going the old route.
We hope so. You see, I like African adage. If you insulted your wife last week, and you are telling her today that you are expecting guests from your village, and she has to cook for them and make them feel great, then you must be out for a surprise. Recently, Nigerians were complaining about the poor state of treating doctors in this country. A minister came out and said we have more than enough doctors. Those who want to go can go. You can see what is happening in Nigeria now. Reportedly, as of today, I think there are just 2 isolation centers in Abuja. You see? And we are now going to, and I have read the report of the medical practitioners they want to bring from China. The government is claiming it's a Chinese company that is requesting for them. They want to come and help us, assist us with the molecular testing laboratory. There will always be excuses. And those who are here are saying, no, you did not even consult us. You need to upscale the facilities available unto us. Treat us like human beings. You see, in HR, you talk of human resources. You talk of human capital. What a wise investor does is to upgrade resources to capital. The same medical doctors we treat shabbily in Nigeria, they get abroad, they excel. They earn good money, they are treated. You need to listen to the incentives that Ghana is rolling out to their medical practitioners. It's fantastic. Even if you are not a doctor, if it is possible to become a doctor in 2 weeks, we want to quickly go and be a doctor. That is what we are talking about. It's for the benefit of all. Those of us who come out to talk, by the grace of God, I'm not sick, I'm blessed by God, but we just think that we deserve more than we are having. in this nation. And the resources are there. Look at the recent one that just came out now, 12 billion naira monthly to feed school feeding. When, how much are we budgeting for education?
Let's look at the lockdown, sir. The first phase of the lockdown is just about ending now. We're in the second week. And many Nigerians, especially the expert doctors, are saying we may have to extend. Now, against the background of that information, let's look at the palliative measures. Now, the palliative measures, even at the state level, that you have so much commended as the state government, you raised the issue about the diversion by some unscrupulous elements of the items meant for the indigents. Now, who do we hold responsible? And how do we correct that? Then, if the COVID-19 lockdown has to be extended, do you not foresee a security challenge in this country where people would, go against security men? That's those who really want to move out of their homes.
I hope we won't come to that stage. And I must commend Nigerians. We are wonderful people. I've been saying it. We love one another. You need to see what individuals are doing, corporate bodies, religious organizations, to support one another. It's marvelous. And those are some of the incentives. All you need to do is create an atmosphere of love. All right, so I commend Nigerians for doing that. But whether people, and it's beginning to happen that people are disobeying the directives of government because the moral capital needed to enforce these laws are not there. But it's not new. I appreciate Lagos State so much in terms of laws. But there is one we have not been able to implement, which is no street trading. Hawking is prohibited. Fine, 90,000 naira. If you drive from Sheraton to Maryland, you see this sign post there. But we cannot implement it because these guys don't have jobs. Some of them are supposed to be in school, they are not in school. So how have we been able to care for them? All right? We are a country that supports Almanjiri system, that children should be born without proper nurturing. And sometimes these children grow up, some of them to enjoy quota system. You see, so we need to sit down, look at countries that are making commendable progress in the world, and look at what they have done. I'm passionate about the UAE.
No,
because I did a study.
My question has not really been fully addressed. Are you playing down the inevitability of the clash? The clash between the masses.
Let me tell you about Nigerians. The Nigerians,
there's no food at home.
Sir, the Nigerians I know, and we say it. If we have such quality of Nigerians, we will not be where we are. We would have manifested that trait maybe 2 years ago. If not on estimated billing, on something else. But you just see us, we just like Lagos, we just make shakara, and after making all the noise, they are playing football. They are playing football now. Yeah. They jump up and down. Oh boy, what you get there? Oh yeah, bring that your rice, make we chop. A woman said she was cooking the pot and everything disappeared. So Nigerians will always find a way. Maybe because other citizens in other countries are not as patient as us. So they confront the government. But here is even a risk to confront your government. We are not asking for, what are we asking for? The basic necessities of life. It's what are not necessary. Now, they say COVID-19 is here. Wash your hands.
What's the minimum number of days you think Nigerians may not be able to actually stay?
We still have 6 days.
6 days. No, 5 days.
Talking
of 6 days.
Of these 14 days.
I cannot talk for Nigerians. Already, we understand they are already producing COVID-19.
Ankara.
Ashwebi. You see, we have a way.
For who?
I don't know. For post-COVID-19 Thanksgiving. We have a way of digging through the wall. We are a hard people.
So even beyond the 14 days, if another 14 days added, and maybe another 14 days.
The government may not have the capacity for that.
India, China has had to spend 67 days.
Yeah, even New York has been extended to 29th of April.
They are out of it. You see, in New York had to convert, I think, a cathedral to a medical facility. US had to convert a warship to medical facility. So those countries, Saudi Arabia, I understand, converted a mosque to face mask producing. So those countries quickly migrate to suit the situation on ground. But here, it's like the citizens are left on their own. We have instances. Okay, now, people are complaining, no electricity. You go to the market, the price is like times how many? And you must buy, somebody was telling me yesterday, the first generator packed off. They went to quickly buy another one because they can afford it. That one too is misbehaving. The children are at home. The children don't understand the language of COVID-19. They don't want to know the stress you are going through. You must make them comfortable. You look at our weather. You see, they will even eat 7 times more than when they were in school. So you now see pressure. And that's what we are saying. When the House of Reps Speaker was engaging the minister, yes, he compared the social investment project intervention of Nigeria to the Unemployment Act in the UK, to the Social Security Act in the US. Right now, the pressure on US is that, okay, now we are having more people filing for unemployment. They already have provisions for unemployed citizens. You see, that's what we are saying about structure. But, you know, so we really need to test our governance process now and be sure that we trim down. Now, senators are donating part of their salaries. That's what we are saying. Let's look at where we spend our money. Let's look at those basic things that are important. Why is China overrunning this whole COVID-19? Because they've had a structure. They've embarked on the economic system we call isolationism. China isolated herself from the world, embarked on rapid development. Now they are bouncing back to put the world under subjection. Because after COVID-19, they are going to produce things. They have enhanced their economy. They even contained it within a region in China. And already they are already spreading to Africa and the world for economic colonialism. So we need to wake up. If it's education we are going to focus on it. But it starts with mindset. If I don't appreciate education, I will not invest in it.
All right. We have this package of an interview we did with a CDA.
That's the Special Advisor on Agriculture.
All right. So we'll just take that package now to let us know what is happening here in Lagos as regards the food palliative, the food packages.
Hello friends, it's Wazzy here. Do you know why we need to stay at home right now? There's a new virus in town that's making everyone sick. It can make you a little bit sick or very sick. To make sure less people get the virus, we all need to stay at home. If we all stay in our homes, then the virus can't spread. So stay home and stay safe. See you later.
Olele, olele, moliba makasi.
Olele, olele, moliba makasi. Olele, olele, moliba makasi.
The idea is to feed 200,000 indigent families that consist of the vulnerable, the elderly, the physically challenged. So these are the people we are catering to, not that we are, like 200,000 households of every and anybody in Lagos. So people have to understand. And in terms of the preparation, as you can well see at our facility here where we are doing the rebagging of items, we are rebagging rice, 5 kilo packs. We are also having Gary 5 kilo 3 kilo. We have pepper mix, and then we have 2 loaves of bread that we are giving as a package for a household. And as you can see, this entails the coordination of a lot of people, a lot of players in the supply chain and logistics sector, if I may use that word. You have the truck, the transporters, you have the procurement aspect where you have to buy some of these items. You have those that are helping us to package, and then you also have the security team on ground that we have to use to help us in terms of moving the items from base to the different local governments. So it's actually a coordination, a cooperation of so many people doing different things just to ensure that we're able to deliver on this palliative measure to the people of Lagos. So in terms of the structure we have on ground, it's to use the CDAs, CDCs, to use the religious leaders we have on ground, to have also a mix of the councillors in there to help us, because these are the people that can reach these people we need to target at the grassroots level. And in terms of the success rate, I would say it's relative. In some local governments, it's been quite successful. In some other local governments, we've had a few hitches here and there. But I think we need to also put into consideration that localities to localities, we have differences in terms of the people, the composition. So we need to take that into consideration as well. But by and large, like I said, it's relative. Some local government has been very successful. Some, we've had a few hitches, which I will not run away from. I would say that at least we've been able to touch about 70,000 indigent families. At least that is what it's supposed to be, about 70,000. We are still working. We have not stopped. We are here 24/7. We have people here 24/7 to ensure that packaging goes on. And this is not the only facility we have doing that. There are other facilities out there. We are churning things out at a faster rate than ever before. We've engaged the services of some manufacturing companies as well to help us, because they would have the equipment to seal these items to rebag faster than even what we can do here. So we want to ensure that at least in the shortest possible amount of time, we're able to reach the 200,000 people, 200,000 families, indigent families that we have said that we would. And like Mr. Governor had said, this is just the first step or the first phase of the palliative measure. We don't know how long this pandemic and this situation is going to last for. So depending on how the situation goes, whether it improves, then we will know the next steps to take back. Okay, so in terms of the feedback, I think the narrative here should be that either the CDAs are not fully informed about what this palliative or who this palliative is meant for. Because if you as a CDA officer, you receive some packs of food items, the idea is the CDA is supposed to help us identify the elderly in the community, the physically challenged in that locality, to give the particular food items to. If we have to say that we'll feed the entire Lagos, I think that we will not be doing ourselves justice. 200,000 households is equivalent to 1.2 million people out of a population of over 22 million people. So it's not like we are going to be giving a bag to every single household we encounter. It's just to identify those physically challenged, the poor in our midst, and give those bags to them. So when a CDA official receives maybe 3, 4, 5, I don't know what the quantity may be, but whatever quantity that person receives, it's not meant for everyone in that locality. It's just for him to identify those people that I have mentioned who constitute the vulnerable and give those food packages to them, rather than receiving the bags and then they start to open the bags and then they start to scoop out and start to share the bags among so many. That is not the idea.
The CDC have taken the relief package from the state government. We have over 285 CDAs. It gets to all the CDAs in our local government. So it's divided according to the various joint CDAs, the number of CDAs in each of the joint CDAs, and it went round. I've been calling them and I've been receiving various pictures of those needy who got the relief package. At least Agbado Okeodo got over 1,000 of the relief package, and it is divided accordingly. In the near future, we should be able to provide more, because definitely 200,000 families out of over 20 million population. We thank him, but he has to do more in the near future.
All right, that was Abisola Ogunsanya, the Olusoya, Special Advisor on Agriculture, the Lagos State Government. Well, she has mentioned what the government is doing, and we could see packages of foodstuff right behind her in that interview. But I'd just like to read this message I got from Joseph Oba from Aboru, saying that through our CDA, Ifelodu Progressive CDA, we got 4 derica of rice, 2 derica of beans, 4 loaves of bread, 4 tomato paste, and that is for a CDA of about 8 streets. How many can that attend to? And we've had several issues like that of people saying that they just got 5 kg rice, 5 kg beans and gari, and some beans, and 2 derica. There's even one flying on social media now of 84 streets in one CDA. You know, so we've had issues like that. And
how do we
it's
avoid
actually
this?
not.
Government has said that it's about to go into the second phase of the food distribution, the stimulus package, whatever. So how do we avert the ugly experience
Of the first batch.
I think it's the greed virus that is collaborating with COVID-19 now. Because these materials must have been released to some people who are greedy. So the government must follow the value chain through. If you need to arrest some of them to account, why not? So this calls for the spirit of accountability. And I have said it also. This is the time that governance at the local level is very important. Where I live, I can count the number of houses. You can even say, okay, on this street, there are 14 houses. What are we giving to them in these 14 houses? Trucks begin to go around. When you get here, press their bell or knock on the door, drop what you are giving them. You know, and we can monitor how these things are being done elsewhere. You know, so it's when you now attempt to run it through maybe a party structure, politics sets in. And that's why some will begin to complain they are excluded from it. And man being who he is, he likes power, he likes authority. So, and they like to hold people hostage. But here are people who are at home, they are hungry, they need to eat. And now, when COVID-19 is gone, what some would have succeeded in doing is earning the government a bad reputation that is not deserved. But it is the responsibility of the government to follow through. The structure is already there. And there should be a feedback mechanism.
Now, at the end of COVID-19, some individuals, some unscrupulous individuals would have earned the government the kind of
bad name
that it does not deserve. And now, in a particular local government, for instance, in Lagos State, about 1,600 parks were said to have been allocated to that local government. But at the end of the day, the CDAs and CDCs got just a fraction, just less than 400 parks, about 397 out of 1,600 parks. The remaining, the balance was actually said to have been diverted by some politicians within that local government.
What can be done in crisis management scenario like this? There should be a feedback channel. Perhaps the government, through the Ministry of Information and Strategy, should have dedicated phone numbers where specific complaints can be directed and follow up on that. The government needs to be trusted. And when you talk about policy formulations, they don't stand on their own. Policy formulations are tested by policy implementation. So if at the implementation level, it is not properly carried out, it's as if you've done nothing. So because when you have your strategic plan, you need your action plan, and that's where tactic comes in. How do we carry out this plan?
All right, let me take this one. This COVID-19 has exposed the corruption in the system at the federal level. All the aids meant for the poor cannot get to them. That's Moses from Akonwojo. Now we're talking about 150 trucks of rice. The president has directed it should be distributed to the poor and needy. And that's like another face of palliative to the people. What do you envisage is going to happen to that one again now?
If some of them have repented, I envisage that they will get to those who need them. But if they are unrepentant like stone, they will still corner those things. And I can tell you reliably, with my little knowledge of home economics, that a bag of rice will feed 600 human beings.
No, that's talking about maybe 1 derrica or...
A bag of rice will feed 600 human beings. So if you allow these things to go around, you will attend to the needs of the people. But there are some who will consider it as an opportunity to become rich. So they corner it, they start selling it. You know, a lot of things have been witnessed in this nation, and we just wish that this COVID-19 that has come to teach everyone now the vanity of life will sink down in some people. Because right now it's not about how big your car is, or how big your house is, or who you are in an office. Everyone is asking God for mercy to stay alive. You see, even if you look at Italy, Milan in Italy has one of the best hospitals in Europe. So it's just the grace of God we are enjoying in Nigeria. So if some people can still not change their mind that in this crisis management, they want to remain wicked to the people,
now, if you were the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, that's the position of Ajia Sadia Farouk, what would you actually do? I mean, after the meeting with the National Assembly leadership, what would you actually need to do for the next 2 weeks that she's expected to revert on the review of the indices and the strategies for the distribution of the relief materials?
It depends on the command she's carrying out. She constantly repeated that she inherited some of those things. And it's what we are saying. We can defeat Boko Haram in 3 weeks in Nigeria. But it depends on the command. So what template are they adopting? So if they want to care for the needy, they know what to do now. Don't they know how to reach? Reach out to the people now, Mr. Banji. I know you put in Ikeja. I know my guys there. If I carry 3 bags of rice there, I know those who will run away with the rice. I know those I will hand them over to.
Where there is a will, so are you saying that? Are you saying at this point you need to use the traditional rulers? You need to use the method.
Religious leaders, churches are not meeting, mosques are not congregating, but they know where their members are. I said it. Some of us are doing it silently, but we are reaching out. But you see, when it comes to government, why is it difficult? These are the questions people are asking. And at the end of the day now, you may read that they are now arresting 50 trailers trying to cross to Cameroon when people have not seen food to eat. Did America not tell us about the Abacha loot? That if you guys loot this money again, we'll deal with you. Why should we remain in this mode of corruption? It's a sad narrative. Some of us are concerned. It should not be mentioned about our great nation. It should not. And this is the time you expect that government should really care. So if you have that intention to care for the people, you also have that responsibility to go through the value chain to ensure that the resources get to where they should get to. We have MDAs in Nigeria. When you have a minister, you have the ministry, you have the departments, you have the agencies. We have directors, we have assistant directors. Let me tell you, sir, for reference purpose, because we are following up. In Ogun State, the governor has to deploy an application to help them in tracing those who may have symptoms and things like that. In Cross River State, the governor Ayade has to tell some of the commissioners who live in neighboring border communities that you have to go back to your communities because this virus must not enter here. You give